how did the creek come to be called Fisheating Creek? Well, the native peoples that lived along this waterway back 1,500 years ago, and maybe even longer, set up settlements, grew corn perhaps, and through archaeological finds, scientists have dated those peoples, some people even say as far back as 15,000 years ago. The name Flo Flo Popcahatchee comes from those original native peoples that lived along the creek. They knew it was the place where fish were eaten.
Fisheating Creek is a unique creek in my eyes and in my experience in life. You know, how could you have the names, for example, that they have on Fisheating Creek? Rainy Slough, 12 Mile Slough, Cowbone Marsh, you know, with names like that, Mud Creek, all those things, Paradise, for example, all those things are on Fisheating Creek, and they're all exotic to me. I mean, because I've had experiences in each one of those locations, you know, that I can recall and think about, and they bring back some real good memories.
Because it really was part of their everyday life, the creek was, back a generation ago.
When I went to Black and White, Oscar Thompson, his wife Melody, Nikki, and I took our 2 canoes and launched over there, and was amazed. The wilderness, there was some great oak trees there, and cypress and palms, and because in Florida, when you get different elevations, you get different plants. So the creek had all these different things. You had places to camp if you wanted to, and places to canoe, places to get lost. At high water, you can get really lost because there is no creek to follow. And we've gotten lost there before because you actually canoe right over fences. And you can't find your way back. And sometimes I'm not sure a compass helps.
It's probably one of the most pristine creeks in the state of Florida, with sable palms, a few here and there, a few oaks here and there, but cypress trees just galore everywhere. Cypress trees and undergrowth, and sometimes they call it the creek swamp because the water will raise up and you don't even know where the creek might be meandering. You lose it, and that's one of the most beautiful sights you'll ever see, is when you're floating through a creek. I mean, floating through this magnificent creek and don't know where it's at exactly, except if you got it memorized. Now there's times when it's very low and it's very hard to navigate, and there's only 3 to 6 months that you can actually, sometimes 3 months a year, sometimes I've seen it as much as 6 months that you can go up and down it. But it's a wonderful place to visit, and you'll never see, I say that if you just hiked along it, you would see more birds along there than most places you would ever visit. When I was young, the water would come up and hold longer in the creek. Now it's being diverted through Shell Creek and through the other areas, so you know, it's still a magnificent creek, but it's not the same flow as it was back then.
Fisheating Creek was one of the first places Clyde and I went that was deeply into the interior of Florida. And the first time we canoed down Fisheating Creek, we felt like we'd entered into a primeval place. We felt like we were in a place where the world had just begun and we were the only humans. And we felt like maybe the Calusa Indians might pop around the corner at any minute. It was just such an absolutely beautiful, beautiful place, and it really touched our hearts.